Hi guys, it's Beverly. I'm coming to you today with a slipper tutorial. Now, there's lots of slipper patterns out there, and I recommend finding your pattern that you like with the design that you like. And if you're lucky enough to find the proper size in the pattern, go ahead and follow it. This tutorial is going to be to show you some of the techniques on how to do the toe and how to do increases and decreases, how to fit the slipper from the toe to the ankle and from the beginning of the ankle to the heel. But it's for any size. Now, there are many charts out there that have foot sizes. This is a men's chart, and then also in this, there's a women's chart. And you can always Google crochet slipper sizes, and that will give you the length from the toe to the ankle, and then the overall length of the slipper. Now, I had a request for a size 13 slipper, and most of my patterns for men were from size 9 to 11. So what I decided to do is go by the chart and modify the pattern with increases and then decreases for the heel. Now, as you can see, in my Etsy shop, I have many colors and sizes of slippers. This is the size 8 to a 9, and this is the size 11. And as you can see, what I've done with them is I just put like one row of single crochet around the ankle. This pair, I increased it and made a taller ankle. But most of them all start out the same way with the same toe. Okay, so you start out with a magic circle and you follow your pattern to increase it. But then if you have a person with a longer foot, which in the case of my custom order, this person is a size 13. So I have to make it wider and longer. So that's where my chart comes in and my decreases. Normally, a larger foot has a width of 5 inches. And then the medium-sized foot is around a 4.5. And you can make the slippers out of all kinds of different yarns, okay, even this plushy yarn. But my suggestion is that you think about the person that's going to wear them, okay? Now, of course, if they're allergic to wool, you don't want to go there. But if they're not allergic to wool, but they live in a house or they're going to be wearing them in a situation where there's carpeting, you need to stay away from 100% acrylic. These are 100% acrylic, okay? And if you have the hardwood floors or the laminate floors, you would be okay with these, but you have to, of course, be careful with the slip. You know, you have to make sure that when you put the slipper on and you walk, you don't slip and fall. So you have to take that in consideration when you give them as a gift, just to remind the person. Now, if the person has a home or they're going to be wearing them where there's carpet, you want to have a wool slipper or a slipper that contains a wool blend. That's what these are. These have a wool blend. And I used the Red Heart Italian Story, and you'll be seeing that later in the video. this has 47% wool, and so I'm hoping that the person won't have a problem. But normally what happens when you have acrylic, you wear them the first time and your carpeting just begins to shred this. So most of the people that I sell these to, I tell them that they're great for in the bed, okay? Or if you're, on tile floors or whatever, because we don't want them to shred right away, because they won't feel like they got their money's worth or their use out of the gift that they got. So that's where we're standing with this. So the goal of this is to show you how to make that size 13 slipper, show you how to increase it for the measurements that you want to achieve, and how to do the magic circle, and different techniques that you'll pick up as you watch my video. So thank you so much for tuning in, and let's start making our slippers. Okay, we're ready to get started on our slippers. So we're going to make a magic ring here, or magic circle, and you can see I just made a circle with the yarn, and I got my tail, and the pattern says to chain 2, 1, 2. Okay, so there's our magic ring, and then it says to put 8 double crochets in here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do our 8 double crochets. Okay, so at this point we have 3. 4. 5. 6. And you want to make sure that your tail, stays out of the way. So you can just give it a pull. So that was 6. 7. And 8. Okay, so our pattern says to join in the top of the double crochet. So we're going to give this a pull, but I'm not going to go crazy. Just a pull to line everything up. And then there's the top of our double crochet. So we're just going to go right in the top of that. And there we go. So we don't have to pull this tight yet, we can do it later. Now our next row says to do chain 2 and work 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So we have 1, 2, and there's that little stitch, see it right there? So go ahead and work 2 in there. 1 and 2, and then it says to do that in each one across or around, and then we're going to have 16. So I'm going to pause the video and meet you back at the other end. Okay, so I came the rest of the way around and I counted my stitches, and remember in this case this chain 2 does not count as a stitch. And I wanted to mention that you can always put a stitch marker in your first stitch so that you know which one to come in. But with most patterns, any of the patterns you do are going to start out like this, okay? And you saw from the slippers that I showed you, some are men's, some are ladies, but basically you want to start with one that has the magic ring and it goes around like this. Okay, so I'm going to take and go in to the first double crochet like the pattern called for. So I'm going in, and always make sure you get 2 loops. And there's my working yarn, and I'm going to pull it through. Okay, I don't know. There we go. And there we have our magic ring, and we did our row 2. Now row 3, it says to chain 2, and it says to do 1 double crochet, and then the next stitch would be 2 double crochets. Now the thing about this stuff is you have to look for your stitches sometimes. So in this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a double crochet here, and then I'm going to go right in here and do 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, and I need to pull off some more yarn. Sorry about bumping the camera. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 2 double crochet in the second stitch. And this, when we do 2 double crochets in 1 stitch, that is an increase. Okay. Now, keep going around with your pattern, and when you get done, I'm going to meet you on the other side. You should have 24 stitches in this row. Okay, so we're over here to our last stitch, and I know that I have to put 2 double crochets in this last stitch, but I wanted to show you this here. Now you can see there's an extra hole here, and basically that's part of our slip stitch or chain 2 from the previous row. Now normally you wouldn't go in that stitch, but if you find that you cannot obtain the number of stitches that you need, you can always cheat and go there. But obviously we want to do it as accurately as we can, and since we've only got these number of rows, 1, 2, 3, and that's how you count your rows, 1, 2, and 3, we could take it out. Okay, so you should have 24 stitches at this point, and over on this side we have to take a look at our stitches, and I know that this is dark yarn, but here's our chain 2, and there's the top of our double crochet, so we want to go right in there and complete our join for this round. Okay, now since we're here, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out and use our tapestry needle to, or any kind of needle that has a, a larger head. You don't have to go running out looking for a tapestry needle to put in our tail. Now some people crochet over the tail, and that's okay too, because we did as we started, but I have an extra tail here, and I like to go ahead and put it in when my work is this size, because if I have to turn the slipper inside out and everything, it stretches it out and different things like that. So I know that for sure I'm not going to have to take any rows out at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and go under the stitches from row 1 and pull this through, and on the other side I just catch just the top loops of it and go through, And then you can do it one more time on the other side. And we're going to pull it through, and then we're going to cut it off. Okay, so there we go. And I don't go too close, you know what I mean? Okay, and there is our slipper. Okay, now my next row says that we're going to have 32 stitches at the end of this row. But your pattern could be different, and that's okay too, because depending on the type of slippers that you make. Now, I just wanted to mention that if you think about it, when we made the hat, we started in the same way. So once you learn the magic ring or the magic circle, you can use it to make hats, and in this case you can use it to make stockings or slippers or socks or whatever. But this is the basic beginning. Your magic ring or magic circle and the beginning of the toe. And if we fold it like this, you could see, you know, it's starting the toe. Now, I'm going to be making a size 13 slipper, as you guys know, or yeah, slipper. And you just would be basically going on your size. But on my pattern, this first 5 rows is what you would make for size 9 to 11 for a man's. And then I'm going to be increasing it because I'm doing a 13. And I know that the width of a slipper for a size 13 is 5 inches. And of course we talked about the charts, and you would be going by your chart. But for sure, the first 3 rows are going to be just like this. Okay, so I'm going to proceed to my row 3, which I'm going to chain up 2 and follow my pattern, and it says to put 2 double crochets in the first stitch, but you would be following your pattern at this point. And then I'm going to be going along, and I'm going to be putting in a single here, a single crochet, a single double crochet in this one double crochet in this one, and then 2 in that one. And at the end of my row, I would have the 32 stitches that this pattern calls for. So again, I want to show you where you would put your stitch marker. Your stitch marker goes in the top, and you can see the little loop right there, hopefully, in the top of the first double crochet. All right, so I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and then I'm going to follow my pattern for 2 more rows after this, and then I'll meet you back to talk more about our sizes. Okay, now I want to talk about what I have done so far. Now, the first 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, is what you would do for the average slipper, and we would have 32 stitches. And then from here on out, for the medium width or the average width, you would just continue doing the 32 stitches. And you want to count your stitches because you don't want your foot to get, you know, wider and wider as you go. Okay, so you can see already that it truly looks like the toe of the slipper. Now in my case, what I did, because I know that this slipper is for a size 13 and that I need to be 5 inches in my width, okay, so I measured it a minute ago and it was 5 inches, okay, so, but it is 5 inches when I pull it out there. Okay, I increased another row. So what I did is I did my 4 rows, ended up with 32 stitches. Then I did 1 row of just 32 stitches. And if it was a medium width, I would just continue going with 32 stitches. But because this is a wider width, I increased on row 6 to make myself have 34 stitches. And how I did that was I did 16 stitches. I counted 16 double crochets, then I did an increase, which is 2 double crochets in 1 stitch, and then I did 16 more stitches, double crochets, and then I did 2 double crochets for my last increase. And I know as I continue along here, my slipper is going to end up being 5 inches across. Because here is my original pair that I made. And if we take our ruler and we measure, you can see that my slipper is 5 inches across. So I know that this will fit. And I also know the number of rows that it took me, or the number of inches, to get, based on the chart, the foot. And this is from the toe to the ankle, and we looked at our chart before, and it said for a size 13 that from the ankle to the toe is 8.75 inches, so that's 8 3/4 inches. So what I did was I took my ruler and I measured it, and see, you can see it's 8 3/4. Okay, then after that I'm going to join you back to make the heel portion, and then we will finish the total length of the slipper for size 13. It is 11 3/16, and there's 16 little marks between there, and you can see my slipper came out. So what we're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to look at your chart, and you're going to know how many inches. We don't really care about rows, we care about inches. So we want to do the number of rows that it takes to have your slipper be the measurement from the toe to the ankle. And then I'll show you how to begin the heel. And then after we get done with the heel, then I'll show you, you're going to know how many inches. We don't really care about rows, we care about inches. So we want to do the number of rows that it takes to have your slipper be the measurement from the toe to the ankle. And then I'll show you how to begin the heel. And then after we get done with the heel, then I'll show you, or the back of the foot, I'll show you how to finish it off, and we'll talk about the edging here around the ankle portion. Okay, so now we're going to begin tapering for the heel. Now we already discussed that this is a size 13, and we have to go to 8 3/4. But we need to, on these last few inches, to start tapering for our heel. So what we're going to do here, according to this pattern, and you're going to be following your pattern if you're making the smaller size, but I'm making the size 13, and I know that I need to start at this point on tapering the heel. So I'll get my ruler, and see how many inches I have done before I start tapering the heel. Okay, so I have 6 inches done. So I have to go 8 3/4. So what I'm going to do is do the next rows here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 more rows, but we're going to be counting inches. So if you remembered with my size 13, I wanted to increase it to this width of 5 inches. Okay, so there's my 5 inches, or it's close enough. And that was for size 13. I did, on row 6, I did an increase to give myself approximately 34 to 36 stitches around, whereas the medium would be 32. So what we need to do is we need to start tapering down the size 13 towards the heel to down to 30 stitches. So in the next rows that we're going to be doing here, we're going to have at least 2 decrease rows. Now, on this, I've accomplished 6 inches as I showed you. So my next row is going to be a decrease row. And to do this decrease row on the size 13, we're going to double crochet 14 and then double crochet 2 together. Okay? So, of course, we're going to chain up 3. And in the pattern, when we were down in the toe area, we were chaining up 2. But in this pattern, I decided to go up to a chain 3. Now, remember, this basic tutorial is for the size 13. And I am trying to show you how to decrease and increase for larger sizes. And my goal is for you to follow the pattern that you chose with the techniques that I'm giving you. So hopefully I'm not confusing you, because I'm kind of confusing myself. But anyway, so, and the pattern that I'm using is going to be listed below. And of course, and the sizing chart is going to be listed below. And hopefully you're going to be able to come out with a pair of slippers that are needed for the size that you want. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and double crochet 14 together, and then I'm going to go over here and do 14 double crochets and then do 2 together. Then repeat 14 double crochets and 2 together, and then finish the row. Okay, I wanted to show you how to double crochet 2 together, just in case that you didn't know. So we go in to double crochet and we go through the first 2 loops and we stop. We yarn over, we go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, and then pull through 3, and that double crochets 2 together, which gives us a decrease. Now I'm going to continue on around and do another decrease, and I'll meet you back when I finish this row. Okay, in this row I completed 2 decreases, and on yours you should have completed 2 decreases. And again, this is for size 13. And if you were doing a larger size, I think it would be similar. Okay, now the next row, we're just going to do double crochets all the way around. And then our row following, we're going to do some more decreases. Okay, so I'll meet you back after we complete the next row, and we'll do the decrease row together. Okay, at this point we want to do another decrease row, and our pattern calls for us to double crochet 13 and then do 2 double crochets together, 13 more stitches, and 2 double crochets together. So you can probably hear my husband. He's the cook of our house, and as we can see, life is happening. So at this point, we're going to do 13 double crochets, 2 double crochets, 13 double crochets, 2 double crochets. Okay, so we did that decrease row, and after your decrease row, I would like you to count your stitches. Now the goal for the heel portion is on the size 13 is to have 30 stitches. Now what I did was I did 13 double crochets and then 2 double crochets and then 13 double crochets and 2 together to do the decrease. So 13 doubles and then 2 together, 2 double crochets, 2 together, and then if I had to, I did another 2 together to come out. So after your decrease row, you would do another row of just all double crochets and count your stitches. So I have 31. Now we're going to measure our work here again, because remember our goal for size 13 is 8 3/4. Okay, so I have just a little bit more to go here. Okay, probably just one more row. So in that row, I have 31 stitches. In that row, I'm going to do 1 double crochet together to do another decrease. Now that's just what I'm doing. If you have the person there so that you could try it on, you would be measuring at this point from their toe to the front of their leg. So it would be the full length of the foot up to the ankle. And I showed you the chart. You would be going by the chart to count your inches. So what I'm going to do is in this next row, which will give me close to my 8 3/4, I'm going to decrease 1 more stitch. And then we're going to start the heel. Okay, so now I completed that row and I decreased, so I have 30 stitches. And my slipper measures 8 3/4. Now, I'm going to be getting the heel for my slipper. But if you have a size 15, you might have to continue going, because like for a 13 1/2, it's 9 inches. And for a 14 1/2, it's at 9 1/4. And so our goal is to make a pair of custom-made slippers regardless of what size the foot is, okay? So I'm ready to do the heel. Now I have 30 stitches, and see if you made yours bigger, you would be continuing until you had the ankle length, and then you would start your heel. The goal for the heel is to have 20 crocheted stitches and 10 stitches opened here for the ankle. And what we're going to do, and I'll show you on my finished slipper, and I hope you can see it. See, this is the row where we joined, the edge where we joined. And when you wear your slipper, I want that to be on the side. I don't want you to be walking on that, or your person to be walking on that. So you can see, here is the front where the leg would come up, and then on the side where we are joined is on the side of the foot, or you know, on one side or the other of the foot. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start out and we're going to do 3 double crochets, then we're going to double crochet 20. We're going to chain 3 and turn our work. And then we're going to measure. On the size 13, I did 6 rows. But if you were doing a larger size, you would be going with your measurements. Okay, so mine calls for 11 and 3/16, or let's say 11 and 11/16. So I guess I should have come up a little further, but there you can see. Okay, so that's our goal. So I'm starting out, I'm going to do 6 rows for my 13. I hope I'm not confusing you guys. So I'm going to do 6 rows, and I'm going to show you how I start it. And I also want to mention, remember, I already made one pair of slippers out of this Italian story, if you guys are using this. But you can use any type of yarn. You can use acrylic. You can use a combination wool blend, which that's what this is. And I have another skein of it so that I can make my other slipper. But so far I got a pair of slippers and then this slipper out of just one skein. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video here and get ready to start our heel. Okay, so I'm ready for my heel, and I'm going to do chain 3. It's hard to do it around the camera. And I'm going to do 20 double crochets, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so what I did was my 20 stitches. Let me move this. So I did my 20 stitches and I stopped. And then this is the part where the ankle. So we're just going to chain 3 and go back. So you'll be turning your work. Go back, and then back, and then back. Now, on the smaller slippers I've made, I went by the pattern, and it said to leave 8 stitches here. But in this case, I'm leaving 10 stitches because we have a larger foot. Okay? So there's our slipper so far, and now we're going to continue with the heel. And for the size 13, I do 6 rows. Turning my work, 20 stitches, chain 3, turning my work, 20 stitches. Okay, so I'll meet you back when I have my 6 rows. Okay, so you can see our slipper at this point, and I have my 6 rows. And we're going to get our ruler, and I'm going to measure. And if you take a look, for our size 13, we're supposed to have 11 and 11/16. So I think I'm good there. And I'm going to show you now how I begin the edging of the slipper and closing up the back. Okay, so again, this is size 13. And all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single crochet all the way around. In the corners here, there's 2 corners, and there's 10 stitches across here. In this corner here, I'm going to do 3 single crochets. I'm going to do single crochets all the way around. Now, on some patterns, and if you would like to do it, it would tell you to go ahead and seam up the heel. And you can do that now if you would like, but you'd have to cut your yarn. And I would rather just go around because I'm only going to do 1 row around, okay, of single crochet. So if you're going to do a higher ankle, higher up the ankle, you can go ahead and slip stitch these 2 sides together to close up your heel, then rejoin your yarn and do your ankle. And you could use any type of ankle pattern that you would like. But in my case, I'm going to do just 1 row of single crochets with 3 single crochets in the corner to give you the curve. And then I'm going to finish it off the heel. So that's what I'm going to show you to do. But the methods that I'm going to use, you can follow. But again, we're just doing a suggestion here. Now see, here's my foot, and the seam is not on the bottom that the person would be walking on. It's a fold there. The seam is on the side of the foot, okay? Or it would be on the inside of the foot if you were wearing it on your right foot or whatever. I hope you guys are not confused. Okay, so I'm going to start here. This was my 6 rows, and again, if your foot's longer, you would do ever how many rows to meet the measurements. So I'm going to move the camera, and I'm going to do, I've been doing 3 double crochets, but I'm going to do a single chain here, and I'm going to turn my work and go around this way. When I get to this corner, I'm going to do 3 single crochets. So, and then I'm going to do 10 single crochets, 3 in this corner, and then up the sides. And then when I get over here, I'm going to show you how I seam up the back. I'll meet you in a minute. Okay, so I have finished all the way around my slipper, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scissors, and I'm not going to do a taller edge. That's the edge that I'm going to do. And I'll show you how I seam up the back. Now, if you wanted to, you could seam up the back before this, or you could seam up the back after you've finished your ankle if you wanted to do a higher ankle. But as you can see in my other slipper, this is the size ankle that I did. Okay? Okay. Now, if you were going to single crochet your ankle together, what you would do is take your slipper and put right sides together. Okay, so this is the right side of the slipper. This is the right side. So you would put right sides together, and you would take and you would do chain 1, and then you would insert your hook into that first stitch, and then locate the first stitch on the other side. Okay, and there you would go. And then you would pull through to have a loop, pull through, and pull through. Okay, then you would go to the next stitch. So you can see this stitch right there. You would go to the next stitch and the next stitch on the back piece, pull through, pull through. And what I like to do is make sure that these are even. Okay, and mine isn't really that even. I have a little struggle with that. So I'm going to show you how I would continue here. Now we can play with it a little bit if you want to try to get it to match up. But this is how you would continue doing. You go into the next stitch and slip stitch, and see there's the next stitch. You can see it, it's right there. And slip stitch through that one. Okay, and the next one, see they're right there together. Everything is going great. There's the next one, and then the next one on the other side. That's how you would slip stitch your heel together. Okay, and you would go all the way to the end. And then if we took a look, see that came out pretty good. That came out pretty good. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just keep this, because you can also sew it in. But this is how you would slip stitch it together. So maybe I'm being a little picky. So I'm just going to go finish here and slip stitch this slipper together. It's coming out great. So that's how you can double check yourself. And if it wasn't even, see ours came out real even here. If it didn't come out even for you, then what you could do is draw off a big tail when you're up here, pull it through, and use your darning needle to sew it closed, using the same top stitches that we're using. So I'm happy with this because it came out even, because we want it to come out even. Okay, so we're looking here to our last couple stitches. Ooh, look how good that's coming out. See the two right there? So we're going to go right into, whoop, I missed it. Right into those 4 little loops. Come through, slip it through. Okay, and then now I'm going to cut my yarn. I just wanted to show you there was 2 ways to do this. Okay, I'm going to pull this through, do my darning needle, and make it go through this one. So this is how you would do it if you were gonna sew it all the way through. And then I like to do like this, because I want to make sure that it's completely closed. Then I can turn my work here and just go up through and pull. And I like to catch it just a little bit under those. And just get in a couple layers there and pull it through. Okay. And then I snip it off. Now, if you didn't do your tail from before, you would turn your slipper inside out. But see, I showed you to do it earlier, so we don't have to go back in and stretch out the shape of the slipper. Okay, so now here's where we did our heel, so we're going to turn it. And there's our slipper with our seam to the side of the foot. And we're going to measure, and my slipper is supposed to be 11 and 11/16, so I think I did pretty good on my size. And we're supposed to be 8 3/4 from our toe to our ankle, so I think we did pretty good on this one. And I have to make one more because I sold 2 pairs like these. Okay, so hopefully this helped you. So to review, if you can find a pattern that's in the size that you need, follow it. But I showed you how to modify it for a larger foot using the chart, and I'll give you a link to the chart. I'm going to also be giving you, the links to several different slipper patterns, even in the bulky yarn. I showed you the technique of how to do the toe. I explained the increases to get your foot to be for the wider foot, and then the decreases to complete the heel. So hopefully you can use this to modify any slipper pattern to fit any size adult. That was my goal for this video. Thank you so much for watching the video, for subscribing, and please give me a thumbs up, and please, if you have any comments, include those, and any suggestions for tutorials, please include those. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys later. Bye.